All right, last thing I want to talk about here before we answer all your questions. ESPN had a very interesting projection sheet for the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, both taking steps backwards. Najee going to have his first under 1,000 yard season with 890 yards and 6 touchdowns. And Jaylen Warren's only going to have 597 yards with 3 touchdowns after 7-some season a year ago. Yeah, I mean, I got thoughts. I'm going to hold my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this projection?
I didn't take it seriously reading the headline, but then reading deeper into it, I took it even less seriously because it's not even just the yardage. It's not even just the touchdowns and the production. It's the carries number. Yeah. They were projected to both have less carries than they did last season. So you're telling me with Arthur Smith, a running offense, a better offensive line, an improved offensive line on last year, they're going to overall run the ball less than they did? I that to me just tells me, okay, this entire thing is baseless in my eyes.
I was not expecting you to go there, but I think that's hilarious and spot on. Like, I think that's where we stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers is all off. It's like Mike Clay hasn't even been paying attention. Like, I think if you told him Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers and they used a first-round pick on a left tackle, he'd be like, what? Are you really? Are you serious? I didn't have any idea. All offseason, we're talking about two things, and that is Arthur Smith is going to run the football, and Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are going to have massive years because this offensive line and this offensive coordinator are built to run the football and have strong running games. Mike Clay apparently does not see that happening. He sees it the totally other way. This is a Russell Wilson offense. He's going to throw the ball all the time. Arthur Smith is going to forget what won him football games in both Atlanta and Tennessee, and he's going to say, you know what? I think I'm going to try something different this year. I think that's what we're doing. I don't know if Mike Clay, he probably doesn't follow every press conference, but I was sitting there I was 4 feet from Art Rooney last year or this past year in February or whatever when we talked to him, and he said we are going to get back to Pittsburgh Steelers football, which I think every single person on this live stream right now knows means they're going to run the football a lot. And look, if your guess was a projection, Najee's not going to have as many yards because he's going to struggle. Jaylen Warren's going to have less yards because he's going to struggle. Okay, but I mean, there's no indication that the Pittsburgh Steelers are taking a step back and becoming a more passing offense when they were a passing offense last year and we're not good at it. And Najee's still at 1,000 yards. Jaylen's still at 700 yards. I just don't. I don't see it coming. Let me ask you this before we move on. Najee, 1,000-yard runner this season. You still think that happens?
Yeah, I think it still happens, especially, again, we take it with a grain of salt, but he's coming in with a newly formed skinny Najee phase. And I think that matched with the fact that he, one, has a good offensive coordinator that's going to be able to utilize the offense and the offensive line strength better. And two, the better offensive line in general. I think he's going to have another 1,000-yard season also because what you just mentioned, they're going to run the football more. And if they're going to do it more successfully, there's no reason that he's not going to run for 1,000 yards after he did it his first 3 seasons with Matt Canada, 2.5 of those 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I don't think anybody remembers that Najee Harris ran for 1,000 yards with Trey Turner and Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson and Dan Moore as his starting offensive line with Chukes Okorafor on the other side. I mean, it was tough times, my friends. It was tough times. 1,000-yard runner. I got a hard time believing that Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, James Daniels, Troy Fautanu, and Broderick Jones are going to make things worse for this guy. I would guess 1,000 yards for Najee Harris. I think that's easy money. And I think Jaylen Warren is going to be a bigger bet. And I think that bet's worth it too, because I would say there's a good shot he hits 1,000 yards as well.